Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Thank you for
It's been a
putting
while.
me on the spot.
You didn't see that coming.
At all.
Yeah, that's actually nice. So the show's gonna start off. Last week we talked about divorce. This week we're talking about legitimacy. It's gonna be so much insight on that, and of course we have Barr Olumide to always do justice to that. Before then, let's talk a little about you. What's happening?
We thank God.
What's the plan for today after the show?
Well, there's a training, RNDVA, that
okay.
I would give for about 4 hours. And then
Wow.
I'll try to do my sports every Saturday and Sunday to keep my head in check.
All right. I mean, that's great. Yeah. So, tell us now, what's on the table today?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for always being up with us by 7. How do I do this? Because I would like to really get some feedback today. So, yesterday, last Saturday is what I wanted to say yesterday. Last Saturday, I talked briefly on illegitimacy before I went on to divorce. And the response I got was so much that I cannot move away from this topic just like that. We have to go back to it. I got several photos on my WhatsApp, people sending their marriage certificates to me to check if this is the legit one, if they are legally married or not.
Wow.
And would you believe that, it got to a time I started forwarding it to my wife that how can people not be married and think they are married?
No way.
So I think I have to go back. It is very worrisome because a lot of you are not married, bringing church marriage certificates, white weddings. So you know what? I need to go back to this so that you have to understand. We just have to understand this. This is what is termed as an illegitimate union, which is a form of cohabitation by man and woman who live together as married, but whose relationship is not ratified by law, recognized by custom or tradition, which means their relationship is not supported by any dominant law or religion of that country. The offspring of that union are called illegitimate in law, and their relationship is an aberration to the state. Against this backdrop, there is what regulates the marriages in Nigeria is known as the Marriage Act. It is the primary legislation that provides for the celebration of marriages in Nigeria. A form of union not described in the Marriage Act, it makes that union illegitimate. Now, the Marriage Act recognizes 2 kinds of marriages. That is marriage under the Act, which is registry. Registry, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to the marriage registry, every local government office in Nigeria has a marriage registry attached to it. Because in the exclusive list, marriages are under the jurisdiction of the local government. Local government, ladies and gentlemen. So you have marriage under the law, and then traditional marriage, which some people call customary marriage. Under traditional marriage, you have Sharia marriage. So those are the only forms of marriages recognized by law. Marriage under the Act, which is called court marriage, where you go to a marriage registry. Traditional marriage, which is celebrated by the family, and you must pay bride price. If you are married under traditional law and you did not pay bride price, you are not married. You must pay the bride price. Some people call it dowry. Dowry is not bride price. Bride price is what the family of the groom pays to the family of the bride. Dowry is what the family of the bride pays to the family of the groom, which is not recognized in Nigeria. In Nigeria, you do not pay dowry. In Africa, it is in Pakistan.
Yeah.
It is in India. I think some parts of Indonesia where women are allowed to have more than one husband. That they pay dowry. In Nigeria, it is called bride price, which the family of the groom pays to the family of the bride. Islamic or Sharia marriage is according to Muslim rights. The increasing problem now, and what has led to this problem, is the people saying that they want a white wedding. There is no such thing as white wedding in our constitution, in our marriage act. White wedding simply does not exist, which is going to church and then a pastor joining you together in matrimony. A lot of marriage certificates that were sent to me had Evangelical Church of this, the Kinecon Church of that, the Guided Missile of God Assembly. You have people having marriage certificates from churches. Churches are not authorized to join people in marriage.
Wow.
Funny, even the Bible does not authorize a pastor to join people in marriage. Check the functions of a pastor in 1 Timothy. Joining people in marriage is not one. From Genesis to Revelations, there has been no marriage celebrated in the temple or synagogue. It has always been celebrated by the family. What you can do is, after you have been legally married, either traditionally or according to the law that is in the court marriage, you can now go to church for what I will call a church blessing. The caveat to this is that some churches, and I saw a lot of Catholic churches getting this right, are authorized agents of the state. That is, they have approached the Ministry of Interior or the the Ministry of Interior Marriage Registry to be agents. So they are given permission, and what they will give you there is the marriage certificate of the state. You will see the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If your marriage certificate does not have the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Marriage Act, before you would see the Ministry of Interior on it, but now I don't know if it is still on it, but you must see the coat of arms, the Federal Republic of Nigeria on it. If it doesn't have it, you are not married. White wedding. The origin of a white wedding was when Queen Victoria got married and decided to use a white lace. That white lace she wore led to what the elites in the United Kingdom called the white wedding. It wasn't a wedding, it was just referring to the lace, the white lace she wore on her wedding, because that would have been the first time. Royalty, they wear different kinds of colors. Purple is the color of royalty. It symbolizes royalty. But Queen Victoria chose to wear a white lace. And that time, it was now referred to as that is, Queen Victoria had a white wedding. Not you here thinking that white wedding means legal. It does not mean legal. What you do is either you go to the registry or you go to your family to do a traditional marriage where you will pay your bride price. Very amazing is that someone forwarded a marriage certificate. When I looked at it, it was, I think, from Ikoko North local, Akoko North local government area, Delta State. It was a traditional marriage certificate, and it showed the dowry paid. They wrote it there, and then the father-in-law signed, the husband too signed, then the chairman of the it is the Delta State shop. I've never seen that before. The first time, I would say, a marriage certificate from a traditional marriage. They did it well. Okay. This is proof because the father-in-law signed, giving his daughter out. The signature is here. Let me show you. Can you see that? You can see the signature of the father-in-law.
Okay.
You can see the signature of the husband.
Okay.
You can see the signature, and it was a traditional wedding certificate. You saw the dowry there.
Yeah.
That he paid so
amount.
but they put dowry instead of bride price.
Bride price. That's the mystery.
So that, in fact, this is very impressive, showing me that traditional marriage too have started in some areas have started issuing their marriage certificate. This is proof. But the major proof of the traditional wedding is the payment of the dowry, the pictures of the traditional marriage.
Okay.
You know, the pictures of them handing over the woman to the husband. That is even more concrete. That is very solid. In fact, there was a time when you wanted to travel abroad, they preferred to see your traditional marriage, that is celebration, than the registry.
The celebration or the certificate?
No, there is no.
But this one, what is this one called? Like a receipt?
It is a certificate.
Okay.
Now this is new.
Wow.
Yes. Usually they just write a letter. You know, traditional marriage, you write a letter to the family of the bride that you have heard, then they read it, then they reply you. All those are the proofs that you marry traditionally, especially the payment. That bride price, if it is not paid, you are not traditionally married or recognized by law that you are traditionally.
Because I've never been married before, I just want to ask this question.
Go ahead.
Do you usually get like a receipt?
No receipt.
So how do you know? What's the proof that you paid? It's just
the handing over.
The handing over. So
Yes.
pictures will tell that.
Yes, pictures will tell.
Okay.
I remember when I wanted to travel, a man came with the pictures. It was, everybody was, the whites were so impressed. Oh, well, this is what you know. But, that is more authentic, seeing that both families are involved.
Okay.
Rather than me and you just going to a marriage registry and, that one is, anyone can work any kind of fraud with that. Do you understand?
Yeah, but I'm shocked.
When you get to the marriage registry, I was at the marriage registry about 3 years ago. I saw an 89-year-old woman getting married to a 21-year-old guy. For whatever reasons, it was just you can do anything at the marriage registry. All that is required is consent.
Okay.
So some countries prefer that they see families testifying that these two people have been, and that was the idea. Some countries, then, before you go with a visa that you are married, they prefer to see your traditional rights than so telling you that traditional is very
important.
Yes, it's very colorful. It is. You can't miss a traditional wedding, especially Yoruba traditional. Yeah.
You just said something about an 89-year-old marrying, a certain age. So, and you said it was not so.
My eyes, it was very.
So, are you saying it can happen traditionally? Because I mean, all you have to do is prove that you want to be
in
with
your
the
village,
person,
Feta. In an 89-year-old woman will come and your own father will hand you over to. Would that? Let's move on. Let's move on from there. So this is my problem. Ladies and gentlemen, stop going to churches to get married. You can go and get a marriage blessing. That marriage certificate, they are not permitted under law to do that. Now, something happened during the course of last week. A woman got so bitter when she sent that certificate to me, and I told her she wasn't married. She came to my office with her 4 children and showed the marriage certificate of 26 years. 26 years, only to find out that she was not married. She broke down. I had to hold her in my office. She went berserk. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it is illegal for an entity that is not authorized by law, by religion, by culture, to issue a marriage certificate, and you let people believe that they are married. You can actually sue these churches that issue these things unauthorized. You can sue them, because that is fraud. You cannot issue a marriage certificate that you are not authorized to issue, and then you put the name. You don't have that authority. And a lot of people are let me tell you what has happened. They are not married, number one. They are living in sin. Number two, yes, because that child is coitus. It is a child conceived in sin.
Okay.
Then the second part is continuum, which is a child maintained and raised in sin. A sin now is both by law, they are illegitimate. Then by religion, it is also regarded as sin because their parents are not married. You expose these children, when you check it out, a lot, almost 62% of children that are in prison or have rumblings and running-ins with the law are children of illegitimacy. Children that were born under this kind of situation. They become targets, they become easy. There is no blessing to it. There is nothing to it. You just expose the children to the elements. What I now don't even like the more are parents, I said it last week, that will go and be celebrating Omugo with someone that did not pay the bride price of your daughter, someone that did not legally marry your daughter, and a father that will be going there when you know that you did not hand over your daughter to this man, and you will go and be celebrating with them. It does not make sense. Now, the origin of this a lot has to do with when the girl gets pregnant. A lot of families would even waive bride price. They will say, they don't pay bride price on a girl that is pregnant. That is a draconian law because you are placing her worth on a pregnancy. It is a life. It is a person. She is a person. Saying that she has no value because she is pregnant now is making the person less of a person. And then they push her to the house of the man that got her pregnant. And then the man now says, okay, after when she delivers, we will do wedding. But when you deliver, she delivers twins, and the money to raise the twins, the money that you have used to do wedding, it goes to raising of the children. So next year becomes a decade. Before you know, 20 years are gone. Listen, you are exposing, first of all, the fact that both of you are married, are unmarried, living together in the same house, sleeping together and raising children that are not recognized by law, tradition, or religion, puts those children in a dangerous, very dangerous. Those children are susceptible to coming influenced by the wrong kind of energy. I am telling you, and this is for a fact. And those that give, especially in churches, in offices, it is a factor when you want to employ people. Now you check it out. I did that survey. And you'll find out that a lot of people with queer characters, especially in places of worship, that have been put as leaders, they themselves living in illegitimacy and having illegitimate children, being leaders of a legitimate department would lead to the breakup of that department. Check it. There would always be problems in that department in any organization. And parents do this unknowingly, harming the future of their children. What is it? Breeding. And you, woman, giving birth to 1, giving birth to 2, they have not paid your bride price, giving birth to 3, giving birth to 4. What is wrong with you? You need to now, those of you that have been living in this kind of, I have told you, it is not to go and do court marriage. You will go and do traditional. That is, you will go to the family of this woman. Whatever offering you need to bring, you bring, and you marry her traditionally. That is the only acceptable for me. That is the only acceptable remedy for this, to legitimize this situation. Now, something happened last week as I was talking. A brother of mine, how many minutes do I have?
Okay, I think we have 1 minute or 2.
Okay. A younger, an aburo of mine called me and said he was in the Lekki bus that is from that Langasa to Lekki. While this program was going on, he was in a Danfo, and the program was on, and he told the driver to increase the volume. Do you listen to this program? The driver said, yes, so he listens to Olumide every Saturday. That it was one passenger that told him to tune into that station if his radio was working, and since that time, over a year ago, he has been listening. and the marathon was going on, so they had to park somewhere. That's last week Saturday. And then everybody in the bus started listening, and an argument now broke up because somebody there said that what I was saying is not true, that the church wedding weighs more than parental traditional wedding. He said that the blessing of your spiritual father is more than the blessing of your biological father. That was where the argument broke out. Okay, as I was saying, in the bus, this gentleman now starts that the blessing of the spiritual father is more than the blessing of the so it is more important to have the church wedding than the legal wedding or the traditional wedding. First of all, I would not argue with ignorance, because I would become that we are arguing with a fool. You become like a fool. But there is one thing that I picked there that I would want to thrash out, because I keep hearing it, and that is, he said the blessing of his spiritual father is more than the blessing of their in the traditional marriage, that unless their spiritual father, who is the pastor. Now, there is a problem in Christianity. At times I just look at my Muslim brothers and sisters, I look at the atheists, I look at the traditionalists who believe in other deities, how they take a back seat and watch Christians begin to slander and malign each other with the permission of the flock. Now, the term spiritual father, that people say, oh, this is my daughter, my spiritual daughter. They say, that is my spiritual father. Christians saying the word spiritual father to refer to their pastors. I will take you to the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 9. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 9. Now, I have told you, anytime you want to do a Bible study, you cannot have one version. You must have the King James Version, you must have the Amplified Version, you must have the New International Version, and please have the Passion Bible. It is very important.
Passion Bible?
Passion, it is very important. Now, Hebrews 12, verse 9 says, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? The Amplified Version says, moreover, we have had earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we yielded to them and respected them for training us. Shall we not much more cheerfully submit to the Father of spirits? Now, it is important to note that earthly fathers is in plural, but Father of spirits is singular. I would now take you to the Passion interpretation, if you haven't gotten it. Hebrews 12:9. And isn't it true that we respect our earthly fathers, even though they corrected 9, even though they corrected and disciplined us? Then we should demonstrate an even greater respect for God, our spiritual father, as we submit to his life-giving discipline. There is only one spiritual father. That you now arrogate your pastor to be your spiritual. You see, the issue here is that when you retain the position of a pastor and you start sharing names and titles with God Almighty, then you are in problem. When you pray, God will leave you to that your spiritual father to answer your prayers. Since you keep calling men that sleep and wake up, that go to the hospital, your spiritual father. It is this is idolatry. When you now start calling men your spiritual father, and those men too keep describing you as their spiritual daughters. It is very, very, very anti-scripture to give that title, which belongs to God, Hebrews 12:9, to give it to a man, and Christians are fond of this nonsense. Why would you? A man just comes and says, you are my spiritual children. The only person is God. He can be your pastor. Why don't you call him the name he is? He is your pastor. That is all that he is. He is a shepherd. not your spiritual father. And this is the problem.
Okay.
Why you would pray and your prayers will not be answered, because God will look at you and say, oh, meet your spiritual father to answer your prayers now.
Yeah, but I thought like God has his own name, right?
Yes.
And your spirit, I think the term spiritual father thing stems from discipleship, right? Or am I wrong?
Where in discipleship have you seen spiritual father? Where in the Bible have you seen spiritual father used for any other person except God? And then you say that the blessing of your pastor is more important than the blessing of your father. Have you heard that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? That he is from father to son to father, from father to son. Who is Abraham? Who is Isaac? Who is Jacob? Where is their pastor? Did Melchizedek blessed Abraham there? Did you see where it is written that he's the God of Abraham, Melchizedek? And no, he is a generational God, meaning from generation of one family to the next generation of the same family. How can the blessing of a pastor be more important than the blessing of a father? Look at Esau and Jacob. When for the blessing of a father, one collected the birthright, and when the father had blessed, the other came to plead, and he said, there is no blessing left. Your brother has called. That blessing is important, except you have a father who is against your own progress. And then you come here. What will God honor? Look at how Jacob blessed. Where did the 12 tribes come from? He blessed each according to their character. Where do people get all these things? Very, very anti-Christian. Moving your pastor to the position of God, sharing that spiritual father with God Almighty, it is wrong. He is just your pastor. And when these people start saying, he's your spiritual father, and then you two start, that's my spiritual father, you are in a problem. Now, let me tell you what is going on. When a fan is rolling, and then you disconnect the fan from the power source, do you realize that the fan doesn't stop rolling immediately? You see that it is still rolling, but it has been disconnected from the power source.
Okay.
And then you see it, although before it was blowing air, you see that air is no longer blowing. It starts going slowly until it. So at times, some of us have been totally disconnected, but you do not know, because it seems your fan is still blowing. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But you have been disconnected a while ago. But you will notice that it is not like before. But you are just still seeing small fan going. A lot of you, ladies and gentlemen, have been disconnected from your main source and reconnected to a man who is using a bulletproof vehicle, who cannot even guarantee his own security, who cannot guarantee his own health. He is your spiritual father. How can he protect you when he cannot protect himself? I don't understand. Now, this is what I was told, that some people almost beat up this pastor in that church, in that bus, because, it was obvious when he now said he is a man of God, he is a pastor. That was when someone said, that's why you are talking. You see, there are very, very fantastic pastors. I go to church now. Only that I don't have a church now. But I go to church. And there are some pastors that are fantastic. But they are 4%.
Wow.
They are 4%. They get lost in this, people calling you daddy, people kneeling down, that you now call yourself spiritual father. They come in and things that a woman will not do for her husband, she will do for the pastor. Do you understand? It does not even make sense. Some women will not agree to what their husband says until the pastor says, do it. Some men will leave their homes. There's a case I'm handling. The man does not come home to sleep. He sleeps in church. He says he's an evangelist. For 1 year, he will come spend everything, but he will go to sleep in church. And that has been from the beginning of the marriage. He will say he's an evangelist. He doesn't work. He doesn't do anything. The wife is the one that does. And at night, he's off to church. At times, he will come 3 times a week to see his own children. This is becoming madness. Ladies and gentlemen, God is your spiritual father. If you have been calling man yours, I think it is time to quickly repent from that ignorance. Hebrews 12, 9 tells you you have just one spiritual father, and he will share his glory with no man. When you share his glory with man, he leaves you to the hands of man. Let me move on to something else. There is no white wedding, ladies and gentlemen. And people that give marriage certificates, people who are not authorized, you can sue them for deception, for fraud. It is fraud when you are not authorized by the state to give a certificate, and then you give a certificate, making people. The lady that came to my office was about 26 years in marriage, thinking she was married. It really, I had to hold her because she was losing her mind because she had been living in fornication.
So I want to ask a question, and I think that anybody who's listening or somebody might have this exact same question. So you're saying it's fraud.
It is fraud.
But I think it's a little too direct, because what if it's just an oversight?
Feta, please.
Maybe they don't
let
know.
us not. How can you not know? If you want to issue a certificate with your name and integrity, and you don't know if you are authorized to do so. So that means I can wake up and issue you my own Naira note. Yes, now I can issue you my own Naira note.
But this has been going on for a long time.
Yes.
And the law doesn't do anything.
No, because it is Nigeria. You cannot do this in other countries. But Nigeria is such a spiritually, you will take things to the extreme. You cannot do this. How can you give it? You cannot do this in other countries. It is impossible that you give a marriage certificate where you are not authorized to give. Even receiving tithe and offering do you remember that some churches are in trouble there, where their assets are frozen because they mismanage tithe and offering? Now you want to, that's just tithe and offering. Now you go and issue a receipt that you are not authorized, and somebody goes to tender that receipt to claim a position she is not by law. They will ask you, where did you get it from? They will invite him that you gave somebody this receipt. That what statute, what law, under what they say canon law, even the Bible does not authorize you to do so. It is not there in the Bible. When Jesus turned water to wine, where was he?
In marriage.
Where was he? Was I in the temple? Was I in the synagogue? No, where? It was in whose house?
I can't remember.
The family getting married.
Okay.
It is Jewish people marry in the family house. It is a family from generation to generation, from Genesis to. So where did we get our own? Since we are following the Bible and Jewish custom.
They're being creative.
You can do church blessing. Insist that they go. And I like some churches, like there was a Catholic church that the pastor or the father or some will tell you to go and get married. Then bring your marriage certificate. They will see it. Then they will bless you.
Okay.
You cannot be condoning people who are illegally living in illegitimate, sinful, and you let these people remain in sin. And that is where the judgment is. You know that they are not legally married. You bless them and leave them, and then they keep giving birth to illegitimate children, and you bring them to church. Look at that. You will concentrate them, and you will baptize illegitimacy. You baptize the children.
I mean, this is deeper than I thought it would be. I mean, I thought that
the children, look at the children, just check it. Those children have all kinds of issues. Why? Because they are open to any form of, if I would use attack, because they are not protected. God is the covering over a family. Do you understand? But you are living in, he cannot cover your union. So your union is exposed to external incursions.
Look, we have a lot of contributions and messages on WhatsApp. We want to take your contributions, questions, stories, even if possible. I'm going to open the phone lines, but I want to go to WhatsApp first and just read one message before I roll out the phone numbers to call in the WhatsApp number to actually send your messages to. Dear Feta, good morning to you. Please, can we have Olumide start a church service program on 99.3 on Sundays? This man is giving us more sermon than our spiritual fathers in quotes. We listen to every radio, TV, street corners, dorms, synagogues, temples, up and down in Nigeria. Well done. Thank you so much. So what do you say about that? Every Sunday. Hello, good morning. Yeah, good morning to you. Welcome to Relationship 360. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay, great. Okay. All right. So, He will not agree. Oh.
Auntie Happiness, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, Biko. Good morning. Always good to hear you also.
He's shaking table. He has broken tables. I'm telling you.
It's terrible.
People are going to check their certificates now. Some people are being
punished. Some children are being punished because of this recklessness. Should I call it? It's not spiritual recklessness now. It's the recklessness of some people who believe that you're talking to some. One of them was telling me that he's not under law.
Wow.
You know that he doesn't obey the laws. I said, very good. Then there's no need to continue. He said that he did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. That's Christ. So now you are.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much. Good morning. What's your name? Oh, try to make you back, please. Okay, who do we have here? Good morning. Oh, okay. Good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from? Oh, welcome, Francis.